In this video, we're going to look at pulling in favicons for every URL in a list of company URLs. So this is a question that came up on the Airtable forums recently, and we're going to look at how to solve it using the Data Fetcher app. So this is our table. You can see we've got just one field, and that's URL, which is a list of company homepages. So the API we're going to use is Favicon Grabber. This is a free API. And the way we use it is we hit this endpoint with the root domain of the website we want in this part of the path. So one issue we've got initially is that we've got full URLs here, and this just needs the root domain. So if we put a full URL in this bit of it, the API doesn't work. So the way we're going to solve that is add a new field called domain. It's going to be a formula field. And we're going to use this formula here, which I'll put a link to, that strips the extra stuff off the URL and turns it just into the domain. So we just need to change the field that it mentions here a few different times. And once we save that, we can see it strips everything down, so we just get a root domain. So that's the first bit. The next thing we need to do is add a filtered view. And this is going to be needs favicon URL. So we're going to create an extra field in our table called favicon URL. We type URL. And then I'm going to add a filter to this one. The URL is not empty. Favicon URL is empty. We'll see what this is for in a second, but it's essentially to tell the app which records to process. So now we've done that, we can install the Data Fetcher app. If you've used the app before, you can sign in, otherwise you'll need to sign up for a free account and verify your email. So we're going to sign in, select the default account and create a new request. So we'll call this get favicon. The URL we want is the one from Favicon Grabber, except rather than having a hard-coded value in there, we're going to use a reference to the table. I'm going to use the current table, use the domain field, click confirm. You can see that's marked up there. And then the output table we want is the current one. The output view we want is needs favicon URL. I'm going to select update as the mode. And then in the advanced sections, we're going to say we want to run this on multiple records. We want to use the current table, and we want to use needs favicon URL. And then the last step is to determine the fields and open the field mapping. So this is going to hit the API, see what the different fields are in the response, and we can say what we want to do with them. So domain we don't need. Item source is the actual favicon URL. So we're going to say that's a data type URL. I'm going to map it to that field in our table. Click confirm. I'm going to save. Now we're going to close the app and I'm going to run it. So we're happy for it to update the data in our table. And we can see it's hitting the API for each row, each record in our table, and then updating it. Now because some responses from this API have multiple different URLs in the response, we're going to get some extra records here. So we're just going to add a filter to get rid of those. So we're going to say, well, URL is empty, or is not empty, and that's just tidied that up a bit. So that's it. So we could, if we had another home page here, we could run that again, So let's just try Monzo test, run it again, and it's just going to do that one, so it's not going to go through them all again. And that's because we used a filtered view for this middle step. Okay, so that's everything for the URL. So then we can use an automation to add an attachment. Attached favicon. Save that. And we're going to create another filtered view called needs attachment. And this filter is going to be URL is not empty. Favicon URL is not empty because we need that to create the attachment. And attach favicon is empty. Let's just rename that favicon. It's a bit tidier. So the automation we want, we'll create a new automation. And we'll say the trigger is when a record enters the needs attachment view. Done. I'm going to update the record with ID from the first step, and we're going to say the favicon should be equal to the favicon URL, and I'm happy with that. So because this only happens when they actually enter the view, it's not just going to immediately update everything. So the easiest way to sort that is probably just to start again. So just clear these URLs out, and then back in data fetcher, run that request that we just made, and let it update each. So you can see they're going to move into that view and then be moved out. Not sure what happened there. Okay, yeah, it's just taken a while to update. And we can see the automations running there. And so we've got the favicon URLs here, and then the favicons as actual files here. So these ones are PNGs, so Airtable actually gives us a preview. This one, the Netflix one, is an ICO file, and so it's saved there and we can download it, but you can't actually see it in Airtable.